Hello and welcome to the only show where we talk about the trailers to the movies well after we've already talked about the movies themselves. I'm Luke,
I'm Max.
And I'm Matt.
and this is Force for Thought.
That's not our intro music at all.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to be talking about the 5 trailers to the theatrically released movies that came out in the Disney era. So that's The Force Awakens, Rogue One, Solo: A Star Wars Story, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
If you'd like to, we are going to be posting links to all 5 of these trailers on our socials today. This episode's releasing on October 25th, Wednesday. So if you'd like to go and watch those trailers before we talk about them in detail so that they're fresh in your mind, so that you're not thinking about the teasers or trailer 2 or 3, you can go ahead and check them out. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into it. We all watch the same 5, and now we're going to talk about them in terms of our favorites. So we're going to talk about them in order, starting with the first one that came out, The Force Awakens.
Yes.
So where'd you guys have this ranked on your list, 1 through 5?
So that's how we're gonna do it. Just go through.
Yes. We'll talk about each one.
Interesting. Okay.
Because there's not enough to...
I
if
know.
we went with our number 5, it would be... we had that problem with it
Yes.
in a different ranked episode.
when you sent the list, I was Max said the same thing. I was like so surprised because I was like, oh. Well, thank God, because I thought it was going to be like we're going to do the teaser, the second teaser, the full
I know.
trailer, the trailer
It's going to
two.
be hard enough for people to follow if they're...
Yes.
Even if they did just go and watch those 5
Yes.
trailers, and I'm assuming 99% of the people listening did not go and do that, although you should.
Yep.
But
We'll break it down enough for you. You'll figure out what we're talking about.
But I think
Yeah.
that's a great call because when I first was like, oh, I want to talk about all the trailers, but then like you just said, it's so hard to remember which one's which or follow along. Like actually,
And
but
if I'm being honest, I will inevitably be bringing up the teasers anyway because
Same.
it is very hard to judge a trailer after seeing the teaser and after seeing the actual movie because
Yes.
we've already seen all these
Well-
movies, so my opinions are definitely being affected by the fact that I've seen the movies and I know
yeah,
these scenes
I was
that these
I was
are
going to
pulled
mention
from.
some honorable mentions from the teasers so that
Yes,
people wouldn't
same.
be like shocked that we're not talking about them right now. But you guys are planning on
Well,
talking about them at the time.
oh,
So I was going to say like
absolutely.
we're not
Yes.
talking about the fin popping up over the into the
No,
frame.
save it.
All right, yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Well, seriously, something that's funny is watching these actual first trailers. I was like, oh, okay. So in the Force Awakens one to kind of get into it, but also segue a little bit, was like, oh, okay. So Han Solo and Chewie already are introduced. That's the second teaser of the Force Awakens, which is why they're
They're just
normally
in
in
this
this.
one.
Yes,
Right.
and it's so funny to be like, well, yeah, they're in the movie, but like I'm like thinking about it like it's 2015
Right.
version of myself, being like,
Because the
Okay,
trailer
yes.
for The Force Awakens doesn't have that grand intro for Han Solo that when
Yes.
you go back you expect to see. But you're right, that was the second teaser that
Yes.
ended with them entering the Millennium Falcon and him saying Chewie, we're home. And
Yep.
that was a great teaser.
and he smarks.
That was
But
a
it's
great
not the
teaser. But that's
trailer.
not the trailer.
Right. It's
Anyway.
not what we're officially discussing here.
Yes.
That is just bonus content for
Yes.
you listeners.
All right, Luke, lead the way. Who's
All right.
who's going first?
We're talking about The Force
Yeah.
Awakens. Max, where do you have it listed on ranked 1 through 5? 1 being the best of these 5 trailers.
So, as with any ranking, we are Star Wars fans. It is always hard to put
Oh,
something
God, he's going number 5.
at the bottom of the list
I
or
cannot
towards the
believe
bottom of
this.
the list, but some things have to be down there by default. So, it's not the bottom of the list, but it is pretty close. I put it as number 4. It is
Egregious,
That is low. I'm shocked.
4
tar
of 5.
and feathered.
It is and here's my notes. It is exciting. It's a fun trailer. There's a lot of really cool imagery that is in it.
All good things. Keep going.
The Hans line when he says it's true, all of it. That's some great trailer dialogue. I really enjoy that. And here's my 2 biggest opinions on this trailer.
Mhm.
The first being it's starting with Rey and the opening dialogue of "Who are you? I'm nobody."
That boss can have a
Because-
voiceover.
Yes, because that is the question that basically sparked every single Star Wars theory since 2015. Because if you notice, anytime new Star Wars content comes out, the first thing people say is, "Oh, I wonder who that character is. I wonder if that's actually this person." And I was thinking about this not too long ago. I kept thinking, why do people keep doing this? Like, why can't somebody just be somebody? And it's because of this trailer. It's because of The Force Awakens, because they made such a big deal about, oh, I wonder who Rey is, that now every single time something comes out, it has that feeling to it where people are like, oh, I wonder who that person really is. And it's like, no, they just did that with Rey. Let it go. So I kind of knock it down a little bit for that, just because I'm kind of annoyed by it. But,
Oh, but that is
it's
what's
also
the-
exciting. I see the other side of it too, because it sparks the theories, and I love speculation. And if you go back not too long ago, I'm also very guilty myself of wondering who people really are when their identities are just they are themselves. So that's a little hypocritical. And this part might be very polarizing. It does have the distinct benefit of having a very bad first teaser. I was not a big fan of the very first teaser for The Force Awakens. The one
Millennium Falcon flies upside down, Maxwell.
I get it, over a sandy planet that we've thought we've all seen before, but it's like 30 seconds of just Finn popping up into screen, and I distinctly remember the first time I saw that teaser. And I didn't know if I was supposed to laugh or not. I was like, was that a comedic beat? Like, I was so torn about it. And then the second teaser came out and it was better. Obviously, we just talked about the ending when Han comes on. And then this trailer dropped and this trailer was really good. So it does, to me, have that distinct benefit of following up what I think was a very bad first teaser.
Are you going to tell the story of when we saw that teaser for the first time? You remember?
I do remember. So let's see. It would have been, I think it was like
October of
early
2013.
13? No, it would have been 14, right?
No.
It came out in December of 2015.
I kind of think it was.
It couldn't have been that early.
It must have been 14. Yeah, just over a year before release.
Well, we could look it up because it was Horrible Bosses 2.
Yes, when did Horrible Bosses 2 come out?
Luke and I and our family went to go see Horrible Bosses 2 in theaters. It was like a Saturday
at 9:30
at
a.m.
9:30 in the morning. It was the very first showing because we knew that they were going to be playing the teaser for The Force Awakens, and we were like, we have to go see this. So we went with my entire family, and the teaser, it's like maybe a minute long.
Yeah.
And afterwards, my mom just turns to us and she said, "That's why we came to see this." And we were like, yes, that was it.
That's hilarious.
And she was like, "Is that not on the internet or anything?" And we were like, "No, it probably is by now."
Yeah, oh sure, but it definitely was, yes. But then we stuck around for the movie, and Horrible Bosses 2 was actually a really good movie too. So
yeah, we all quite liked
it was no regrets, no regrets. But that's why that's where I have the Force Awakens trailer number 4.
I disagree with a lot of things you're saying, Maxwell. Number one is I think that.
Well, where'd you rank it? Let's get off that.
All right. I don't want to hang on. I feel like
build it up.
To build it up. I think people theorizing who people are isn't because of the line, "Who are you?" I think it's because it's so connected to the original trilogy. So everyone's just expecting someone to be related to Han or Luke, and obviously we continue with Lando as well. I think it's just ingrained. No one saw the Solo trailer. It was like, oh, I wonder who Kira is. It's like, well, no, it's probably just like Han's friend. Same thing with Rogue One, right? It's like, like, nah, I don't really know if like Chirrut is really anybody, right? I think it's just because the trilogy is so ingrained within the original trilogy, and then the sequel, the prequels as well.
Yeah, and they were setting up the sequel trilogy to be so ingrained with the original trilogy, so they had to start the trailer like that.
Exactly.
That's a good point. And a lot of people thought that Han and Leia's kid was going to be a part of it, so they thought, oh, maybe that's who Rey is, maybe that's who Kylo Ren is.
And so I think
Luke was mysteriously not in the trailer, which is also a beat in and of itself.
Exactly.
Well, but that doesn't have anything to do with the mystery of who characters are, though.
But it has
no one thought
mystery.
Rey was Luke.
Well, yeah, that's true.
As we get a
there were theories that Kylo Ren was Luke.
Was Luke? Oh yeah, I guess that would make sense because I mean, besides the fact that he's played by Adam Driver and everyone knew that, that's a weird ass theory.
Well, except for the fact that it's stupid.
Yeah, we didn't know that. We didn't know exactly that because I remember Triple Force Friday in 2015, when the toys went on sale for the first time for the Force Awakens and the Mandalorian and. Was it? No, it wouldn't have been The Mandalorian.
I do remember
I'm thinking
that.
of just regular Force Friday then. Triple Force Friday was 2019. So Force Friday in 2015, when the toys went on sale, was a big deal. And there was a Kylo Ren toy that they had the dialogue line, "That weapon belongs to me." And that was a big talking point that implies that Kylo Ren would be Luke Skywalker because, well, it was Luke Skywalker's lightsaber.
There's two things I want to get to, which is one is that I feel like back in 2015, 2014, even before then, I was like, I'm going to collect things, screenshots or whatever of things that are like, this will be like, I'll remember this day when this happens. Like when the Beatles first came on iTunes in 2009, I was like, I'm going to screenshot this, and it's like, and I'm going to look back on this forever. I no longer look back on that forever. Turns out the Beatles are just great all the time, and you don't need iTunes. And the other thing that comes in mind when every year I see this pop up on my Facebook memories is when I screenshotted the cast list for Force Awakens, and it shows Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and Mark Hamill. And I think I posted like I actually might die in 2015 or something, and so every year I'm reminded of that, which is why I put the Force Awakens trailer as number 1. Because it is one of not only the best Star Wars trailers, but one of the best trailers of all time. It has the emotion, it has the heartfelt, it has the mystery and intrigue. It's everything the movie should be. It's the antithesis of what Luke says with the Rise of Skywalker trailer, which I also disagree with, that it shows you everything that's going to happen in the movie. You know nothing what happens in this movie by watching that trailer.
That's true.
It's all the parts are so disconnected that you're just like, I don't know what's going on, and I'm so excited about it. It's got that, I think it's because it's led by J.J. Abrams, and he's a big, the mystery box guy. But I think they did it right, and I also disagree because of the first trailer. I feel like we were so excited in 2014 about that, Maxwell, because think about 2014 Matt and Max, right, or 2014 Luke. It's like Star Wars has been dormant for a very long time at this point, and when you get that minute, now looking back, it's like, well, yeah, it's just BB-8 or whatever, but that was a new droid we've never seen before. That was insane. We have a black stormtrooper. We've never seen that before, right? There's so many elements of
Rey
Star.
Speeder was super cool looking.
The speeder,
Captain Phasma, who we called the Chrome Trooper.
Exactly. Yeah, Captain Phasma. You get the new helmets, the design. See, that
Kylo Ren's lightsaber. I don't want to
Oh
get
my
too
God,
bogged
no,
down in the teaser
no,
trailer,
but
but it was a
that's what-
great teaser trailer.
I agree.
can't believe you said that.
I agree. I'm in that mode too because I'm just like, there was like 8 elements that were so new that, especially now looking back, I agree it's not as good, right? But I'm like, man, I'll forever hold that nostalgia of being like, holy crap, like what is all of this? This is like Star Wars feels familiar and yet it's totally new. Anyway, this trailer I think specifically does a great job. The score leads the way. It has hints of the old trilogy. You have hints of what's to come. It's mystery, it's intrigue. It's got amazing visuals throughout. I mean, it looks like Star Wars in 2015, right? Again, the reflectiveness of the lightsabers and stuff too. Like the little bit of the snow scenes we get too. It's like things that in Star Wars we've never seen live action. And I think it I don't know. It just has such a nostalgic but also it just like lit the spark and just like ignited every little fan theories, and we all, I feel like, talked about it for like a full year. And I think it also has one of the best lines in the trailer, which is what all Star Wars fans or non-Star Wars fans or people who have lost their way with Star Wars, I'm talking about it like it's a religion, which maybe it is, but it's the Force is calling out to you, just let it in. And that's exactly what Star Wars fans should do, or people who don't, right? Just let it in and enjoy it and be thankful for it. You don't need to be a dick about it or like juxtapose it, right? It's like, it's okay. You can watch it and enjoy it or watch it and dislike it. That's fine. But you don't need to not watch things and just be a proponent of hate as well. But anyway, I think Force Awakens, that trailer is like number one. And I talked to our friend Josh Vanderzijn, who does the intro and outro music for this podcast as well, about how we still think about it's like maybe the best trailer of all time. It might have came because we were film students in college, but I legitimately think this might be one of the best trailers of all time.
That's fair. And again, to differentiate the teaser from the trailer, I
Yes.
do really like this trailer. None of these trailers I dislike. It was only that
did
first
preface that,
teaser
yeah. Yes.
that, and it's really the first 30 seconds when it's just sand for like 20 seconds, then Finn pops up. It's really just that part because it's a weird beat to start off on.
Max
like
was
you said,
just
it was
too teased.
laying dormant. Star Wars was dormant for almost 10 years at this point, and the first thing we see is just popping up in the screen. Like I said, it was just like a weird, like,
Did
no,
it
I don't
feel
know if
longer?
that's comedic. It felt super long.
No, I mean like
Longer
than
than
10
10
years.
years. It was 9
Jesus,
years, but
get off
yeah.
the sand. I'm just kidding.
No, I think about that a lot actually, looking back how it was only 2005 to 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you go
it
from
doesn't
being
feel that long.
a elementary school student to a
Exactly.
college
I was about
student.
to say it was the ages that we happen to be. I
Yes.
feel like, which made that feel like forever.
Because like right now I'm just like, oh, that's not long at all. but
But
like,
I-
back then it's like
I know.
literally felt
Have
like
you ever talked
eons.
to like not old people, but older people, like 40s, 50s, 60s that aren't that into Star Wars, and they like don't even know that there was a 10-year break. Like
Yeah,
to them,
I mean-
Star Wars was around for like all of the 2000s, and then just started up again in the 2010s. It's like
My,
they didn't even notice.
my grandparents, my brother also has a podcast called the Muni Lot Report where he talks about the Cleveland Browns, him and his best friend Bill. And every single week we see my grandparents, and they're always like, oh, how's the podcast to Mike? And they used to ask me quite a bit too. But now I think they've listened to enough episodes where they just kind of stopped because they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's not even worth it.
They're like football, Cleveland Browns. That I
Yes,
can follow.
That I watch every week. Star Wars, don't know a thing about it. You nerd.
All right, moving on. My ranking of the Force Awakens trailer, I put it at number 2.
All right, Luke.
So I'm excited to be agreeing with Matt on something because I feel like we rarely are.
I
but
agree.
This trailer was exceptional, and I think part of the reason, and it's not exactly fair, but J.J. Abrams, the way he makes movies, lends itself to making really great trailers.
Yes.
The
For
man knows how
example,
to cut a trailer.
the
Absolutely.
shot, not just that, but the way he makes movies. There's a lot of moments that are just cool trailer shots, like Vader's helmet. Not
yeah.
that substantial for the movie, but
Yeah.
a great trailer shot. The Knights of Ren, basically just a trailer shot that's in the movie. The X-wing skimming the water is a great trailer shot,
Yes.
and there's I'll get into it more, I guess, when we talk about other movies. But there's a lot of parts of The Force Awakens that it doesn't necessarily suffer as a movie because it was made to produce such a great trailer. But other movies are not made in the way J.J. Abrams make movies, and that just lends itself to make such great trailers.
Yeah, that I absolutely do agree with. And I did say that, so let's wrap up with that thought because it seems like something that we can absolutely agree on. There was some really great iconography in that first trailer.
Yeah.
And it'll come up again actually when I give some of my thoughts on The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker too. But I think J.J. Abrams really, and I think people might disagree with this, I think he did fan service very well. I really like all of his imagery, all the stuff that he brought back. The Star Destroyer in the desert of Jakku. I think that's one of the coolest visuals in all of Star Wars.
I mean, how much of it is fan service, and he also just shaping the entire trajectory of the entire sequel trilogy to being a redo of the Empire, and like it lends itself to make a lot of very classic imagery, to have stormtroopers again, to bring back the Knights of Ren that just look like dark side Force users and stuff like that.
I agree. Yeah, I think. I mean, we'll talk about The Force Awakens some other time. We've not done a full episode on that.
All right, next movie on the list that came out not chronologically. They came out next in the real world.
Yes.
It's chronological.
Is that
Yeah,
chronological?
it's chronological
It's not
order.
chronological in the Star Wars universe.
No, but it's chronological and
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's funny.
chronological
It came out-
in
I would still call that
the actual
chronological.
real world galaxy.
yes, I would call it
Close to here in present time.
I would definitely call it.
We know the
chronological.
difference.
All right, Rogue One. Matt, where'd you rank it?
All right, guys, you know that Rogue One is my third favorite Star Wars movie of all time. You know that Rogue One, I absolutely love it, which was why it breaks my heart to say that Rogue One is number 5 for me. Now, if we were talking about Rogue One trailer 2, that makes the Force Awakens trailer like run for its money. That is a perfect trailer. But we're talking about the first one, unfortunately, where you have. It's very convoluted and hard to follow, I think. As someone who loves Star Wars, I think they try to take it too seriously, and then try to disguise it who it is. There's basically next to no characters you're like learning about. Besides, you get a little bit of Saw Gerrera, and it looks like it's just a Jyn Erso and Andor dynamic. But really, the whole thing is the whole group, right? You get a little bit of
I
Sharut.
thought that too.
And
The
that's it.
trailer does imply that it's a lot more Jyn Erso
Yes.
Cassian like buddy,
Yeah.
not buddy comedy, but duo.
And I guess like the thing is like it's great. Second trailer is literally amazing. The score is great. It's very plot driven, but it's kind of hard to follow. Actually, I feel like without a lot of great lines of dialogue that they end up having in the second trailer. You get I think it does it really well. Is that it sets the tone. I remember after watching it. My brother was like, "This is apparently what like puts the war in Star Wars," and it's like, yeah, it absolutely did. There's just like massive ground battles that we're more used to that feel like a Vietnam movie and stuff, and there's great like space battles and stuff too, but you get a vibe and you get a sense of what you're going to be at. I think it leans way too heavy into trying to be the main trilogy versus being its own thing. It's trying to be something that's not in this trailer, I think, and you get no sense of character or direction or anything versus in the second trailer. And this is the thing, is comparing and contrasting. I know we're not supposed to necessarily do that, but there's no fun. That Sharut moment, I feel like we talk about it all the time, Max. Do you remember that? When after Jyn Erso, which is not in this trailer either, rebellions are built on hope. And then Sharut like holds his staff and like, it looks like he's like, yeah, that's true.
He just taps it or something.
Yes, and
Yeah,
it's
I know
so
what
funny,
movie
and
you're
it's
talking
such a
about.
weird acting mode that I would not put in that trailer. But like the rebellions are built on hope is an amazing line. Make 10 men feel like 100, an amazing line from the second trailer.
Yeah, that was a good one. I forgot about that.
Another line, save the rebellion, save the dream. Another great line from the second trailer, but not the first. It's literally the trailer 2 is perfect, which means trailer 1 is just pales in comparison because it's kind of sloppy and confusing. As a Star Wars fan back then, I was like, yeah, I want to see everything that's going on. With that, I was like, that looks great. But again, you have to think of these as like, oh yeah, a second trailer will come out and explain it more. And so that's why like, as someone who like tries to put trailers together to pitch for like their job a little bit, is just like, how do you tell a story over the course of 3 trailers? And it's like, that's why they're all intentionally done. And so I'm not knocking it because clearly it was thought out, but it's like, oh yeah, what if we introduce them to the world in trailer 1 and then the characters in trailer 2? And that's exactly what they did.
We don't really plug your credentials enough when we talk about this stuff.
You don't need to.
You really just downplayed your job. That's like literally what you do for a living.
Yeah, I think it's applicable for this episode. That you
we should mention that Matt edits trailers for a living.
I mean, that's the goal. It's more social videos or social trailers and stuff too. But yeah, I mean, like, I guess I have some industry knowledge, I guess, of like how these things should go. I'm sure people who actually do this stuff for a living way more intensely than I do at an actual full trailer house agency versus an agency, or would probably be like, oh no, that's so stupid. But yeah, I'll take the credit. Thanks, guys.
If I'm looking for somebody to judge a trailer, I would
Yeah.
say that Matt Lewis is definitely the expert on the matter, and I would go to you first. And that is why I am so absolutely shocked that we are in such agreement on this, because we both love Rogue One,
Yes.
and I absolutely agree. I think it was the worst of these 5 trailers.
Oh
You
yeah,
have it
so
on
5?
I have it at 5. Yeah,
All right.
I had Rogue One as my 5, and I agree with a lot of what you said. So I don't have a whole lot of notes to go on top of it,
All right.
except for the music. I love
Same.
the music in Rogue One. I thought the first trailer's music was just a little reductive. It was basically just
Yeah.
the Imperial March, just like a different version of
Yes,
it the
it
entire
was,
time.
yeah.
And it was building up to this final shot of Darth Vader. And it's like the whole trailer feels like it's a big lead up for Darth Vader,
Yes.
who's hardly in the trailer and he's hardly in the film.
Yeah.
He's arguably the best part of the film, but he's such
Yeah.
a minor presence that it was just a weird song to have
Yeah.
like throughout the entire trailer.
Yeah.
And
I did not like that bit with Darth Vader at the end.
I agree.
I thought it seemed kind of like someone just gave
Shoehorn
a
in.
note from a manager
Yes.
that was like, "Put Darth Vader in it," and
Yeah.
they said, "Okay, here you go."
Darth
the
Vader
very-
sells. Let's see.
That's
him.
like V4.1 alt is like have Darth Vader in the back. They're like, well, this isn't what we prefer, but this is what we'll give you as an option.
And the other 2 things I want to point out. One is there's a weird, in my opinion, out of place comedic beat where K2SO says, "The captain says you're a friend. I won't kill you."
Yeah,
And it's like
It
it's
doesn't
supposed
really
to be.
capture K2SO's
No.
personality.
No,
that
it doesn't
well.
capture him, and like the music is still playing, so there's no like cut to like let the audience in on the fact that this is a comedic beat or
Yeah.
anything. Like it was a comedic beat in the movie,
Yes.
that just did not play like
Like-
that in a trailer for some reason.
Trailer 2 though has a better comedic beat, and they actually play it correctly, which is when he says we have a point whatever chance of surviving, and it's
I
like,
did not watch trailer 2, so
Oh,
I'm a little
yeah.
lost on all of these moments.
but like. I'm so sorry, Luke. But yeah, I mean that moment did it better. But it's like, well, we don't need a shoehorn in comedy because it didn't have any place. Even though that's what I mean by it's trying to stick too closely to the new trilogy that's coming out at the time for the sequel trilogy, where it's like, well, let's put Darth Vader in there because it's reminiscent of the old trilogy, and that goes hand in hand with this, and also let's make it serious, kind of just like and mysterious. Where it's like, no, it's kind of funny. It's like K2SO is great, and the banter is great, and that's why we love Star Wars. Maybe it doesn't make for the best trailer, but trailer 2 does it perfectly.
I, for the record, had it at number 3. We kind of skipped over me, but
You were next.
almost all of
Oh,
my notes.
sorry.
We were going clockwise.
I
guess that's not great for the listeners, but I was supposed to be next.
So the order we're sitting in.
I had almost the exact same notes that Max just said. I'm going to read my notes. They just play the best songs from the original trilogy, Imperial March and Force Theme, which is kind of a cheat code to make a cool trailer. Because yes, that did make an incredible trailer, but
Correct.
it's not your movie. Like this is content from
Yeah.
another movie, and it doesn't have much of a wow factor like The Force
Yeah.
Awakens does. Like there are 4, 5, 6, 7 shots probably in The Force Awakens where
Yeah.
I get my breath taken away, and
Yeah.
nothing really like that in Rogue One.
As far as the first trailer goes, I think there are a couple wow moments, but none of them make the final cut, and that's the other hard thing
Yes,
to
that's
differentiate.
true.
There's so many iconic shots in the trailer that don't make the final cut of the film. The 2 biggest ones that I can think of are when they're actually like storming the beaches and they're getting like shot at by these AT-ATs. That is so cool. And the other one is Jyn Erso walking on that little plank, and she's like met with that
Yes.
TIE fighter that comes into
Yeah.
shot, and it's so cool. And neither of those are in the film at all.
yeah.
And it's hard to rank a trailer after having seen the film and knowing those things. At
Yeah.
the time, I'm sure I felt a lot differently about this trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to take into account having seen the movie and what is and isn't in the movie, which will come up more in The Last Jedi. My thoughts on The Last Jedi trailer, but I remember this movie came out in 2016, and I'm not going to say it's all cable started going out right around that time, but at least for me personally, that's when that was like the last movie I remember seeing trailers for on TV, like while watching TV. And I remember that shot in particular with Jyn Erso on that skywalk
Yeah.
and a TIE fighter coming up to meet her was like in the 20-second TV promos, and it was just such an ingrained moment in my head going into the movie, and like I noticed in the movie that it wasn't there.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a knock against it, and I have it at number 3. So that was your least favorite, and middle of the pack for
Yeah.
me, which that's gotta be. I'm keeping track, so we'll have an official Force for Thought ranking of these trailers, and that's not looking good for Rogue One. But moving right along, The Last Jedi is next in line. Starting with myself, I put this at number 4, which is lower than I wanted to because it's my favorite movie. It's the podcast's favorite movie, and it is an incredible trailer, but there's so much missing from it. The trailer is almost entirely just about Rey and Kylo Ren, which is a big part of The Last Jedi, the best part of The Last Jedi, but it's not the only part of The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Poe is almost not in it at all. Finn has even less presence in the trailer. He's also almost not in it at all. DJ, Rose, and Admiral Holdo aren't in it at all. And if you just don't have any of those elements, it's like you don't even know that Finn and Poe are in these movies.
Yeah.
And so it is disappointing that they just chose the best part of the movie to make the trailer about, which does make a really good trailer, but I gotta knock it for that. That's not fair.
Which is what I was talking about before, where I feel like they did the opposite. Where in trailer 1 they talked about the core element of what the movie is, which is Kylo and Rey, and then in trailer 2 expanded it to be like, look at all these other things though. It's hard not to.
I didn't watch trailer 2.
No,
but did they include much more with Poe or Finn?
I didn't either.
They
But
still never showed anything on Canto Bite in the trailers, or
no,
anything with Admiral Holdo in the trailers.
they show a significant,
and that's like the crux of Finn and Poe's arcs.
But I think they do show Finn and Rose more. I didn't watch the second trailer either. So.
I don't know. I was just shocked because you have the one line from Poe that we are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
Yep.
And
It's a great line.
which is a great line. And from Finn, just the line "Come on," and then he hits Captain Phasma in their fight.
Oh, that's such a cool shot, though.
It's a cool shot, but it's that shot and him walking in his First Order disguise to his execution after having seen the movie. You know that, and it's also a cool shot. But those are the only 2 shots of Finn, who's one of the main characters of this movie. You cannot just exclude him so significantly.
I disagree with what you're saying. I think they did him very well in the trailer by only including the coolest shots instead of just giving like the crowd like, oh hey, remember Finn? Here's a shot of him. And I'm going to talk about this again when we talk about the Rise of Skywalker trailer, because I felt like multiple times in that trailer it happened too, where it's like, I see these characters, but you're just reminding me that they're there without giving me any substance.
Yeah.
So I'm okay that we didn't see all those characters because I felt like there would have been no substance with it. And I'm trying to imagine like, okay, well, what like cool shots could we have seen these characters anyway? And I'm like, well, everyone's least favorite part of The Last Jedi is Canto Bite. I don't really want to see like shots from that sequence because I feel like whatever shot they use, that's just going to be out of place. You know what I mean? Given like the rest of the tone of the trailer and everything like that.
That's fair, but Finn and Poe are still in this movie. There are ways to include them in the trailer such that they're, advertised as being in the movie. They have full character. We've talked before about how Finn. I don't want this to devolve into us hating on The Last Jedi, because in the movie, Finn and Poe have complete character arcs and they're good and I love them. And there's a way to include that in the trailer that they chose not to.
I feel like I'm defending this more than I really am because I pretty much agree with you. I had it as number 3. So I also had it as kind of middle of the pack. A couple other notes that I have. I think that the music is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think of the 3, or no, that's not true. I think the music is fantastic. I think the imagery, while it's not as iconic as some of the shots from JJ's trailers, they are just stunning.
Yeah.
Like that aerial shot of Ankh-To. It's like it's just a normal island like that exists here on Earth, but it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's incredible, and I love that shot. And there's just a lot of times like that in the trailer where I'm just like, wow, that looks so cool.
Just
And
Kylo
it's
Ren
just a
picking up
normal
his
thing.
lightsaber.
Yeah, Kylo Ren and the stormtroopers like marching on the crate base or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's
That
one of-
aerial shot as well. Maybe I'm just a sucker for aerial
No,
shots.
that's a great shot. I was gonna say that's an amazing shot. I love it.
So I like those a lot. I really like the line, which I thought was incredibly prophetic for a trailer, where Luke Skywalker says, "This is not going to go the way you think." And a lot of people talked about it. They were like, "Is that a meta comment? What's going to happen in this film?"
I remember that.
And I feel like we can say now, after having seen the film, and it's been out for 5 years now, 6 years now. Yeah, that movie did not go the way people think.
Nope.
So I really like that was in the trailer.
I say that line. I quote that line. I mean, that's really from anything, but I say that because of this trailer and that movie. But I say that on a weekly basis to my wife.
This is not going to go the way you think.
Like in a dumb, like
Good. I'm glad.
for stupid things. Like, oh, can you do the dishes? Like, oh, no, this is not going to go the way you think.
Right.
Like in a very dumb context. And I'm now wondering if she knows this from this trailer.
And I really like the Kylo and Rey team up fake out at
Yes.
the end, because it's two
That's a
different
good
shots
fake out.
that are edited together, but it's also not really a fake out because they do team up in the film during the throne room scene. So it's like, it was such a good fake out, but also it's not a fake out because it did happen. It was just, it's so cool at the time. It caused so much fun speculation. And in hindsight, it's even more fun to think about because of that.
I wanted to look into this more, and I never got a chance to. I wonder if you, Matt, know, how much editing did they do to do that fake out? Because the fake out is Rey saying, I need someone to show me my place in all this. And then Kylo Ren reaching out his hand, which the scene from Kylo Ren is on the Supremacy after the throne room fight when it's all burning. And so his face is very lit with live fire. And when Rey says that line in the movie, it's in the tree library on Octo, and it's not lit with fire. But in the trailer, it looks like it is. Did they edit her to look like she's in that scene and just put in some CG fire just for this trailer?
Yeah, I'm 90% sure that's what they did.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
They got me.
I'm sure that's what they did.
There's I'm trying to think of a good example in Star Wars so that we don't stray too far off topic, but it is a recent trend in trailer editing where they just like completely add or remove stuff to fake you out, and there's a lot of examples in Avengers movies.
I was gonna say, are you trying not to dive into the MCU because somehow we mention this every week?
From Infinity War, there's an iconic shot of them running into battle and the Hulk is present, but in the film he's actually not the Hulk at all. He's in the Hulkbuster. And then there's a couple moments like that in Endgame, I believe, too, where it's like completely edited differently, like they completely changed costumes so you didn't know what was going on.
Did you see that going into your work, that lawsuit that was like basically people of the fans of the movie yesterday, or lack of the fans of the movie yesterday, were angry
The
because
Beatles movie?
Yes,
I love
because
that movie.
Ana de Armas is in the trailer but she's not in the movie because they cut her scenes. And so there was like fans like had this huge lawsuit, and it like went pretty far.
The
Really?
fans had a lawsuit?
Fans had a lawsuit, and it went to like actual court and stuff, and it went pretty far. But
False advertising or
yes,
something?
it got dismissed. But there were like there was a lot of articles and like a lot of stuff at work that was just like, the industry can change kind of, because like you might not be able to actually fake people out or do this or do that. So
That
like
is
technically you
interesting.
couldn't do the Marvel thing anymore.
That's
But
crazy. I hope that's not the case because I like the fake
no,
outs.
it got thrown out because it is stupid.
Yeah.
It's like who cares?
Correct.
You're not
Yeah.
going. You're not.
They can
it
tease you with
doesn't
whatever
matter.
you want.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, buy the DVD. Get the bonus scenes. I'm sure she's in there.
All right, Matt, where'd you rank The Last Jedi trailer?
Last Jedi is number 4 for me. So we're all kind of agreeing on a lot of the same
Yeah, we
things. The music's amazing. Not to repeat, I think a big thing is like it's looking into the next chapter. Again, think of Force Awakens, right? The time was just different. After Force Awakens, we're like any little nugget we wanted, we had to wait for this trailer. That sounds like it was like I'm talking about the 90s, but like just waiting and having these little nuggets and seeing where the story's going to progress. And it did not progress the way any of us thought, like especially with Luke Skywalker. But seeing his mechanical hand and stuff is rad. I love that shot. There's also the shot. No, I'm thinking of another trailer. Hang on. Just consistently theorizing. Let the past die. Kill it if you have to. I love that build up and that emotional beat where it's like, okay, well, he killed his dad. In the
And
last
he's about
movie.
to kill his mom, and you see him put his finger on the triggers, and then he pauses for a moment.
Yes, exactly. That's a great
so
moment.
good.
Exactly.
I remember when when we were living this time, I thought that was a trailer fake out. That I was like, no way is Kylo Ren gonna consider just blowing up Leia on a ship like this. That's so unceremonious. And then
Yeah.
that was
That's
one
exactly
that
how
was
it
definitely
happened.
not a trailer fake out.
Nope.
That was just
They
cut
did.
from the movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I think I'll say about this trailer is that it's something that was intrigued me. I still can't put my finger on it, but I think it's the way it starts. It just starts so low key. The music just like it wisps you into another time of where like movies aren't made like this anymore. Where in the fact usually it's like explosions, bang, 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 right? The Force Awakens does that. That trailer does it a lot. But it's like no, we're just on a standing still shot of Kylo Ren, right? And you can look deeper into it and what he's looking at and where he's at and everything. But like it just starts with him looking over, and
And it's a
it
really
starts
cool shot too with the reflection.
Yeah, it starts so minimally. I was like, oh, all right. Like it tingles. It sends a tingle down my spine every single time I watch it. And it's just like, why am I missing something? It starts like so high elevated. I don't know. I love that moment. But
We talked
Number
about
4.
the Maz Kanata voiceover in The Force Awakens, and I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the Snoke voiceover in The Last Jedi
Yeah.
trailer. It's so good.
It is
Great
very
way to
good.
start the trailer.
and you're like, ooh, tell me more, please.
Mm-hmm.
I've been waiting a long time. Let me see this guy. He was in a gold robe. Well, okay, did not see that coming.
All right. Now,
Real quick, do you remember the time when that came out? I photoshopped you on Snoke and called you. What did I call you? Slook? I think
No, I
I'll
don't
find them.
remember this.
It popped up on my memories like a week ago. Why did I not send it to you? I don't know. But it's him
I feel
looking.
like I vaguely remember that for some
Because
reason.
it's such a creepy picture. Because like it's like he looks like he's doing this in the picture, which is a great visual for a podcast. But then put your head. You put
Matt is sitting very creepily with his fingers all messed up.
yeah, and he looks like he's like gonna like use like lightning out of his fingers. But when you Photoshop Luke's head on it, when he's wearing sunglasses, it just looks like he's doing like a pimp walk, and it's very very funny. I'll
We'll
find
post it. We'll post it.
yeah, a terrible Photoshop job from like 2017.
All
Anyway.
right, moving right along. Solo: A Star Wars Story. Starting with Max. Where did you rank this one?
I had this one as pretty high. I actually had it as my number 2. So some things that I want to point out is the music. The music I thought was maybe the best of the 5. It was definitely the most unique, and it gets a lot of credit for that.
Yes.
I liked it a lot. And the music cuts out at the right time when they actually do the comedic beat correctly in this trailer. When Han asks Chewbacca, well, what do you think? And then Chewbacca growls, and he says, well, what do you know?
Yes.
That's
that's
a very
fun
good
moment.
Yes,
Funny
it is a
moment.
very good comedic beat for a trailer. It's a
Yeah.
perfect way to capture their relationship. I liked it a lot, and they did it very well. I mean, there was just a bunch of like action shots that were very exciting. We got to see a new Wookiee. I remember there was a
Yeah.
lot of speculation on that. People thought it might have been Buryaga, I think is her name, who was Chewie's wife, or Raro. Or,
Mala is Chewie's wife. Buryaga is
Malo?
from the High Republic.
oh, that's right. Or what's his kid's name? Raru?
I don't know.
It's something like that. So a lot of people were thinking that it might be one of those characters. So there was a lot of speculation on that, and that was just like a split second blink and you'll miss it type moment from the trailer. We got to see the clean Falcon, which was so cool to see
Yes.
for the first time. And I really like that as well. And it was just, I mean, it was the perfect trailer for that movie because it was just a really fun movie.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that it did so poorly at the box office, but everyone that did see it was like, oh wow, that was actually really fun. And that's how I
Yes.
feel about this trailer. It was
Yep.
just a really good trailer.
I absolutely agree. I love this trailer. For me, this is number 3. And that doesn't sound like high praise in comparison because we were just talking about how we were like, oh, we're in agreement, Last Jedi, 3 and 4, whatever. But no, Solo is like leaps and bounds, I think, over Rogue One because it's easy to understand. They also set up the betrayal aspect really obviously and really well through the dialogue.
With
And
Beckett's
also-
voiceover.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they also are able to transition through voiceovers. And I love the beginning when they're like, what are you looking for? Is it revenge? Is it money? And they have great accompanying shots with that. And they stick with that theme as well. Again, making sure you understand who this person is, even if you don't know who Han Solo is for some reason. Where he's like, I'm a driver, I'm a flyer. And they show you things to back it up. And you're like, yeah, I get it. It's instantly. It's nostalgic. The score is great. I remember when somebody put the Sabotage, the Beastie Boys song, to it, and was like, "Oh, this would have made a better trailer." And I was like, "No, it wouldn't have." As someone who loves the Beastie Boys in my top 10 favorite bands, I think they're number 6, so I couldn't say 5. That's a Star Trek thing. Because Star Trek did that same year, I believe, with the
Star Trek Beyond.
Star Trek Beyond trailer, and it's great for that trailer. But that's not what Star Wars is. Star Wars can't go into that realm, and I don't want it to go in the realm. We don't need it to go in the realm. We have John Williams. Like, you don't need anything, right? So it's like, stick with what you know. And I think the score is great and underappreciated because of that fact. Even though, yes, the Beastie Boys version is really cool, but it's nostalgic. And you see Han, you see Chewie, you see L3. Who is this? You see Lando. It sets up all these characters that you already know in a new light, and I think it does it really well. And if they set up on an adventure that you want to go on with these characters, because it's easy to understand. You're like, yeah, they're gonna pull some sort of heist. The train robbery scene in the trailer is awesome, and like you said, you see the Falcon clean, but you don't get that moment when Han walks in there yet. You see him walk in from the back, I believe, or the side, but you don't see the cockpit from the full shot of it. And it's like, it's rewarding not to see that moment in the trailer because it blue balls you pretty hard because you're like,
Yeah, and it does it the perfect way. It shows
I
you
think
that
so
you're
too.
gonna get this scene, but we're not showing it right now. But you get just a little
Yes.
tease of what it is gonna be.
And then a great part that's like the Wookiee age joke. Wait, how old are you?
Oh yeah, that's another good
That's another
comedic
funny
beat.
moment.
Amazing. And then
You look great.
I have a really good feeling about this moment. Is like, yeah, why would you not put that in there? Like, it is a nice callback. Like, it's a little cheesy,
Yeah.
and they keep reusing it a little bit, like we say. But this did it right, I think, too.
Mhm.
For a movie that doesn't do fan service all that well, I think this is a great trailer. And it's a great movie.
I absolutely agree. I thought that when I was making my list yesterday or the day before that I was going to be defending this a lot more than I am going to. It's my
No,
number
it's great.
1, and you guys have already said
Hey.
almost all of my notes. It's a incredibly made trailer. It's very quick paced and snappy. I had written down also that the editing with the music, when the music cuts out and then they flip the switches on beat with the music
I
that
love
isn't
that.
there. That was great. The story misdirect of Beckett saying that he heard about a big time gangster putting together
Yeah.
a crew, that gives you exactly what you need to know about the movie, but that's not what the movie is about, because he was talking about Jabba in the movie at the end.
Yep.
But that's basically like bird's eye view, broad strokes kind of is what
Yes.
happens in the movie, but
Exactly.
it's actually much more personal and deep than just that. And so that was a really good way to do that. Part of the reason that I think Solo is such a great trailer, similar to what I was saying about The Force Awakens, that The Force Awakens had such a good trailer because a lot of the moments were made just for a trailer because of the way the movie was made. I feel like Solo, the concept of it is basically just a trailer for the character of Han Solo. Because as a movie, it's kind of hokey that we can have a Solo review some other time, so I'll be brief, but Han Solo meets Chewbacca, gets his blaster, gets the Millennium Falcon, becomes the smuggler scoundrel that we all know and love, all in the course of like a weekend, which as a movie, that's kind of a big step to take in a short amount of time.
Yes.
But as a trailer, that's perfect for who Han Solo is going to become.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think that this movie is kind of just a trailer for who Han Solo will be. But that's why there's so many moments that make for great trailer moments. Like Beckett tossing Han the DL-44 is a great trailer moment.
Yeah.
And even though it's not that great of a movie moment. So I'm glad we're all in agreement that
Yep.
Solo is an exceptional trailer.
There's not a bad trailer on here, I would say. Not to jump the gun, I think you might disagree, but I don't
I
think,
think there's one.
I don't think there's a bad trailer besides the Rogue One trailer, which is unfortunate because, again, Rogue One across the board.
It just goes to show that the trailer does not necessarily influence the quality of the movie. There can be a
Yeah.
good trailer for a bad movie or a bad trailer for a good movie.
I was going to say the exact same thing. I'm glad if you go back and listen to how this channel has ranked all of the movies, the way we're rating these trailers are not lining up at all.
No.
Not at all.
All right. Last but maybe not least, The Rise of Skywalker, starting with Matt. Where'd you rank this?
Luke Taylor. I'm so interested where this is going to come in because I believe this. I don't want to spoil this if anybody's been keeping track, but I feel like this might be your number 5 and your number 1.
Yes, I am keeping track, and that is true.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me not split the difference, but it's my second favorite trailer. Not only maybe of Star Wars, but maybe of all time. I love this
Yikes.
trailer. Excuse you?
I'm just surprised.
Was that involuntary?
I couldn't keep it in.
to get off track for 1 second, we were playing the Newlywed game with my entire family because we're all coupled up. And when they're like, name your biggest pet peeve, and Lynn said lack of communication, meaning in general, not just with me because we're actually really good communicators. But Mike had just a reaction, and he was like, "Oh," like, and everyone died laughing. Like, oh, man, it was great.
It's an awkward moment.
Yeah, it
She's
was.
like, no, not my relationship, not my relationship.
It was, but it was also funny because I'm just like, Lynn and I started dating when we were 13, 14, so Mike was like 10. And so it's like, he's known all of us for a very long time. But anyway, it doesn't matter. That was the same exact thing. But yeah, so I love this trailer. I don't think it's necessarily, it sets up what you want, right? It had a lot, I think the trailer is the way it is because it had a lot going against it, right? It needed to go back and try to unite the fandom, not only within this movie because of Last Jedi, which again I think people are babies about, but like Last Jedi, but also Carrie Fisher's death. And I think it does a really good job pulling at the heartstrings, and it does something that I don't think a lot of the trailers had to do before. And it's not only wrap up this movie, but at the same time wrap up the Skywalker saga and the legacy. Where like this is a huge event, and I think this is one of the best songs in a trailer of all time. Because the epic version, when you listen to it on Spotify and everything, like, it's so good because it's obviously this trailer song is not on the score or on the soundtrack, but man,
Which
is
is
it worth
criminal.
Yes, but it's I mean, I listen to it so often. Like I said off pod, and I'll say it again now because it feels like the appropriate time. Is that like maybe not every day, but maybe every other day, or at least a couple times a week, I will watch Star Wars trailers to get pumped up in the morning before I start work. Maybe it's because
That
of
makes
what
me so happy. I believe you.
I do. I'll send you a picture next time. But maybe it's because of what I do because I have to edit, or maybe it's because I love Star Wars and want to get hyped for the day. But this trailer does it for me. It packs a punch. It has emotion. It has the action element. It just encapsulates 40 something years of Star Wars, I think, which is hard to do. And it sets up for a movie that maybe the trailer's a little bit better than the movie itself, right? But you get those nuggets of those excitement. Kylo Ren walking through the water, C-3PO with his red dreadlocks when he's all hooked up. But I think the score is great. It's an epic conclusion. Again, even if you don't love the movie, I love the shot of Rose when she walks up to the camera. There's just like such a sense of urgency when you're like, something is going down. And it's like, as a Star Wars fan, you want to know what it is. Is she seeing Finn die? Is she seeing something bad happen? Is she seeing another Alderaan incident getting blown up? Like, what is going on? Yeah, I don't know. It sets up the finale. It sets up the legacy. I love the 3PO line. I think it just means so much more. The fact that this movie is ending and wrapping up 40 years. It's the last time we're going to see Han Solo and Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker, presumably. Luke Skywalker proper on screen, where he says, "I'm looking at my friends one last time." It's like, man, that just means so much more. And he's talking to what we're feeling as the audience. We are C-3PO in that moment.
Yeah, we talked about how there was a meta line in another trailer, and that's another meta line that
it's great.
I'm taking one last look at my friends, because that's how all of us felt watching that trailer.
Exactly, and that it every single time my eyes won't swell up a little bit. Like, oh man, that's like my heart grows 2 sizes, which is not good because I don't have a small heart like the Grinch, so it's probably going to lead to a heart attack. And the last thing is I think it's got one of the best lines. Confronting fear is the destiny of the Jedi. I think it just is like, man, that just is like, I love them using that line in the trailer. It's just like, it wraps up everything again we should feel. Confronting the fear is the destiny of the Jedi. Not only encapsulates obviously the Jedi themselves and what they're supposed to do, but just like us as people. It's just like, yeah, we have to face our fears and stuff, and I think that's something that Star Wars does really well. Is it speaks to the human experience in a very non-human way.
I will not disagree with any of that. There was a lot of stuff I love about this trailer, but I'll jump right into what you said. The confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi.
Sure.
Tremendous line. I agree. That is the emotional conclusion to Rey's character arc in the movie.
Yeah.
That is a spoiler through and through. That's like putting in the Last Jedi trailer, Luke Skywalker saying, "No, the Resistance is reborn today, and I will not be the last Jedi." Like, yeah, it'd make a sick trailer moment, but that's the end of the fucking movie. You can't just include it in your trailer. There's so many moments
you knew
like
it was
that.
going to happen, though. It's not a spoiler.
You knew that Rey was going to end up being a good guy. Yeah, I mean, you know that how the story is going to end, but you don't spoil the ending in the movie. And that's exactly what this trailer does time and time again. It does that for Rey's character arc. It shows the ground assault on the Star Destroyer, which is a great trailer shot. And they didn't have to shoot it and frame it in the movie as such a big reveal, but they chose to. And they have that decisive moment where Allegiant General Pride says, how are they storming the ship? They have no navy, or I forget what the exact line is. But then it's like a big reveal that they took those...
Jam their speeders. They're not on speeders,
Yeah,
sir.
right. Thank you. And then there's a big moment that they launched all those space horses on the Star Destroyer, which would have been a great moment, but we saw that in the trailer. And then the worst of all, the People's Fleet arriving on Exegol. That was obviously a great trailer moment, but that is the conclusion to Poe's character arc, and you can't just include it in the trailer. In the movie, he's talking that he doesn't know it's going to happen, and he wants you to think that the audience doesn't think it's going to happen. And honestly, you wouldn't really if it wasn't in the trailer. Like, it was done pretty well in the movie if the trailer didn't sack them in the beginning like this. But when Poe is saying, like, my friends, we tried, there's just too many, and then Lando says, but there's more of us, it's like kind of an uplifting moment for a moment, but then you're like, oh, and then this is going to be that trailer shot that we saw 3 months ago.
Yeah.
It's just such an irresponsible, and I can't believe that you're defending it as a trailer editor. You would not make a trailer like this. It's irresponsible. It's antithetical to the point of trailers. It's multiple egregious mistakes.
If it's the first movie, yes, but I think in the third movie, like, again, it's like, I think the Rey line at the end, or Luke's line about confronting fear, it's like, well, I think that's just like him, training from the grave, or like imparting wisdom, and especially since she is battling this Kylo versus kind of having that dynamic. I think that I feel like it's a nice little lead up to it.
I cannot believe I am the voice of dissent in this discussion, because it's one thing to spoil that Luke Skywalker's in the movie, because that I can agree. Like, all right, we all know Luke Skywalker's going to be in the movie. They could have excluded him, and it could have been more of a reveal, because again, when Luke Skywalker first appears, it's presented to the audience as a big reveal.
Yeah.
When he grabs that lightsaber and walks out of the fire. And they could have shown any other moment with Luke Skywalker, but they chose to include not only Luke Skywalker in the trailer to spoil that moment, but the literal conclusion to Rey's character arc in the trailer. That is
The
You don't do that.
The shot of her at the end is a bad shot to include. Because the entire when she's standing there with her lightsaber confronting Palpatine in the movie.
Right before she Force gives it to Ben.
Yeah. That's a bad shot. That is the worst shot in the trailer, which is the last shot that we end on, because the entire movie you're waiting for that shot to happen. You're like, oh, it's the end. And that's upsetting.
That's fair. That part didn't really bother
What?
me so much as all the rest. But I mean, it's a well-made trailer and it does get you excited for the movie, but you just can't spoil such significant parts of the movie in a trailer.
Quentin Tarantino has a quote where he says, when you go into a movie, you know every single thing that's going to happen in that movie. And I think that's true. And I think this trailer is like, everyone knows what's going to happen. If they spoil Han Solo coming back, that'd be a big difference. But also, it's just Luke Skywalker's voiceover. So, it could be anything. We know Force ghosts exist. It's not out of the realm.
No, and it wasn't surprising that he came back. It's just, you shouldn't include it in the trailer. And I disagree, and I think you would disagree also if you thought about it harder. Like, imagine if they included any of the big reveals in The Last Jedi in the trailer. Like, if you saw Rey and Ben fight over the Skywalker saber after he asks her to join him. Like, well, you knew she wasn't going to join him. Well, no, in movie, you got to have the tension and the character decisiveness.
Well, again, so that's what I'm saying. It's the last movie, though. I think it's a little different. How it's going.
I don't think so. If anything, it's more important that you not spoil the ending.
Wait, the ending meaning confronting fears, the way of the Jedi? The destiny of
that
the
being
Jedi?
the ending for Rey's arc in this instance, yeah. The ending for Rey's character.
I think there's
I don't think that's a huge spoiler. I mean, that's just a line, a dialogue.
In the trailer, it is just a line of dialogue. But in the movie, it is the most important line that Luke Skywalker says.
Yeah, but you're looking at that with knowledge after. During the time when you saw the trailer, you had no idea what that meant. You're just like, yeah, that is confronting fear is the destiny of the Jedi.
Well, you know that Luke Skywalker's going to come back. And I guess you could assume that he was going to come back. So it's maybe not that much worse than just admitting that Luke Skywalker's in the movie. But all right, well,
we'll call a truce.
That was we'll call a stalemate on that one point. But I stand firm on the People's Fleet and the charge of the Space Forces on the Star Destroyer.
You don't need to argue with me. It's my number 2. It's his number 1, and he hasn't even gone yet.
You've been quiet this whole time.
Yeah, what the hell, man? You even come to my defense at all?
I'm very glad that I'm going last for this, because I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I did not know if I wanted to rank this as my first or my last. It was going either way for me, and it's because of what I said before. It is very hard to differentiate the trailer from the movie, and I think there's a very meta aspect that we're all missing here in this conversation so far, because just from a trailer perspective, just the trailer, it is amazing. It suffers greatly in hindsight from the fact that, yeah, you just saw the entire movie. They didn't save any reveals for you, and that's pretty disappointing. But as far as the trailer goes, you can't deny that seeing those space horses on the Star Destroyer is epic, that seeing Lando and the Citizens Fleet is epic. It's only disappointing because you didn't get more in the movie. And the meta thing that we're forgetting here is that this was coming right after The Last Jedi was incredibly divisive for all the fans, right? And following that was Solo, which got bombed at the box office. So I believe there was...
Fisher's death.
And Carrie Fisher's death. I believe there was an edit that J.J. Abrams did where he turned it into Lucasfilm and they said, listen, J.J., this is good, but we need to make sure there are butts in the seats for this. You need to put in everything you have. I'm sorry, but you can't leave any reveals to the movie. And I think that's exactly what happened, because there's a big difference between this movie or this trailer and The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens had a lot of that mystery and intrigue. This one didn't. But by laying it all out for you, you can't deny that it was an awesome trailer. And to highlight something Matt said already, the music. Yeah. The music is the best music in all the trailers.
It's good.
It's definitely the best music. And everything after the part in the trailer where 3PO says, I'm taking one last look, sir, at my friends. You're right. That hits right in the feels. Yeah. And then everything you see after that is so epic. There's some great iconography, seeing the Emperor's throne on Exegol. Yes. That's a great shot. And I will say this. Another reason why I didn't know if this was my least favorite or my most favorite was because of everything that happened before that line from C-3PO. Yeah. And it's what I was talking about earlier. We saw multiple shots that just didn't add anything. You just see Rey in this environment, and you're like, okay, I don't know where she is or what she's doing, but that's Rey. And then you see another shot of Poe Dameron, and it's not adding anything. It's just like, okay, there's Poe. He's in this movie. Yeah. There's a shot of Finn. Okay. I'm not getting anything from these shots other than like, oh, it's Finn. I like him. And that's why I wanted to defend that when you were talking about The Last Jedi, because I'm okay with not including those shots if it's not adding anything.
Yeah.
And I feel like there were a lot of those shots in the first half of the Rise of Skywalker trailer where it just wasn't adding anything. It was just reminding you, like, hey, here's this character you like. He's in it.
That's fair. I guess the shots are more just filler because I get maybe the more you get about the specific character's presence in the movie is in the voiceover, because Finn does have a great voiceover to start the trailer where he says it's a feeling.
Yeah.
And that's like alluding to his Force sensitivity and that we're going to get big Finn developments for maybe the first time in the trilogy. And then Poe talks, good people will fight if we lead them, which is
Yes.
a great Poe moment. And that's where we really get what you're saying that you want. And it's not so much in the visuals, it's in the dialogue.
You know what's funny too is that this is a very text-based trailer where it's a lot of reading and you are kind of filling in those moments between text, like a legacy will end and blah blah blah, like as it goes on. And it's very interesting, like when you're putting those cards there, it's like you have, how do you fill those moments between the cards? And so it is an odd trailer, and I bet you're right when you're talking about the JJ cut of the original trailer.
Yeah, I think you're right too.
I think I especially like the teaser trailer, I feel like try to double down on what the Force Awakens trailer did. The teaser trailer, when it was like, oh, a new droid, a new this, and it's like, oh, we get to see like Rey flip over, and then it fades in and out of a bunch of different shots in the teaser, and then we end on Palpatine. And I feel like
we're not talking about the teaser trailer, but that's another thing that I dislike. That's one of the cooler parts of the movie when Rey does that backflip over Kylo Ren's.
But I don't think
TIE fighter.
The teaser for Rise of Skywalker now, in antithesis of you, I think is my least favorite of all of the trailers from Star Wars.
It's probably my second least favorite. And I say that having
Because
seen the teaser at Star Wars Celebration, and the room for that teaser was electric. And I watched that all the time on YouTube, actually. How you said you watch these trailers like at least multiple times a week. Multiple times, realistically, a year. I will watch that crowd reaction from Star Wars Celebration to that teaser more than I watch the actual teaser itself.
Max,
because it suffers from the exact same thing as the first Force Awakens teaser. The opening shot is just one thing, and it's like 30 seconds long. It's just Rey running in the desert until she jumps over the Kylo Ren's ship. It's the same thing as Finn popping up in the desert in the first teaser for the Force Awakens.
Which is, I think Force Awakens works so well, and I don't think Rise of Skywalker's does, because we know these characters, we know that ship. It's like, that's a cool thing. It adds nothing new besides her ability to do it, but that's it. And it's like, well, that doesn't, who cares? Like, versus when we're just like, ooh, that looks cool in Force Awakens, and that's my biggest problem with. But I agree, that's hilarious with the crowd reaction. And there's a guy like in the second row back who like he looks like my realtor. It's not. And he has like a goatee, and I think he's like crying at the end. And I'm like, man, I love that reaction video. That makes me
great
tear up.
reaction
Yeah,
video.
I love it. It's so good. I'm so glad that we both do it. We've never talked about that, but we both watched that exact video.
One more point I'll bring about the Rise of Skywalker trailer is that you were talking about how there's a shot of Finn and a shot of Poe just to establish that they're in the movie. You need moments of them, and it can't be like spoilery moments, but the Rise of Skywalker as a movie, infamously, I'll say for better and worse, but it's for worse, is very poorly paced with massive action set pieces, start to finish, and they could have chosen any number of very cool visual moments of Finn and Poe in a battle doing something cool. You don't need to show like static moments. And if you're going to show static moments of the characters, then give them some static moments in the movie to back that up, to kind of reinforce that that's what you're advertising in the movie, you know?
It is a very fast-paced movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you. I'm interested to go back now and analyze it even further, but I think it's, like I said, that difference between like the first half of that trailer and the second half, because to me there is a big tonal shift after that line where 3PO says, "I'm taking one last look, sir, at my friends." Right after that, the next 30 seconds is just like pure bliss for me. It feels like I'm taking a drug. Like
the music does a lot.
I could inject that last 30 seconds of that trailer into my veins every day.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
1000%.
The music swells right at that moment too when C-3PO says that.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
yeah.
Oh, so good.
All right, so that's all 5. I have tallied our scores and the official Force for Thought ranking of the 5 Star Wars movies released in the Disney era. The official trailer 1 for them. Number 1, Solo: A Star Wars Story. Number 2, The Force Awakens. Number 3, The Rise of Skywalker. Number 4, The Last Jedi. And number 5, Rogue One.
No ties.
No ties.
No ties.
Okay.
It was
Also,
close.
shame on you for not going in reverse order to reveal the number 1.
There's only 5. It's not like you were gonna forget. You get the process of elimination.
and also it's also like you all have been waiting for us to announce the official Force for Thoughts trailer ranking.
And it was a lot closer between the first 3 than the bottom 2. It was 6, 7, and 8. So it was neck and neck between Solo, The Force Awakens, and The Rise of Skywalker. I would have been kind of pissed if The Rise of Skywalker got into 2 or 1, because that is my number 5, and I'm excited to see if there's any. I like to think people are listening, and I would love it if people would comment and let us know what you think. If you're more on my side that The Rise of Skywalker had, not just like Max said, the disclaimer that all these trailers are good. I think The Rise of Skywalker trailer is bad. I think that it should not have been made that way, and I'd like to know if people agree with me, because it has bothered me for going on 4 years now.
And you're like the biggest hype man for Star Wars too.
I
That
am.
takes a lot for you to
This
say.
might be the first thing on pod, maybe in my life, that I dislike something in Star Wars.
That's hilarious, man. I don't know.
All
man.
right. Well, like I said, let me know what you think. Please reach out to us. You can email us, reach out to us on Instagram or TikTok. We will very much enjoy in engaging with you.
And Facebook too. Reach out to us on Facebook. I just
Yes.
created a Facebook
Oh,
page.
did you? I was thinking we should do that for a while.
Yeah, it took us a while because I feel like the 3 of us don't really use Facebook a whole lot, but
No.
it's still popular. I mean,
It
so
is.
I created the page. So reach
true.
out to us on there as well.
And also, when you reach out to us, just know that the 3 of us will text about it and be like, "Should you respond? Do you want to respond?" And so we don't get back to you. That's why we
Yeah.
think the other 2 will
But
respond.
we really appreciate every single comment.
We-
Just know it is read and it is discussed
Yes,
at length.
even if
does
you
fill
say
me with
something
joy.
bad, I will respond. I'm watching like a hawk.
Before we leave, does anyone have any force for thought to leave us with?
I did have a force for
my
thought
God.
that I thought about actually as I was rewatching these trailers, specifically the Last Jedi trailer, where Luke Skywalker says, "I've experienced this raw strength once before. It didn't scare me then. It does now." And I really thought about that for a minute because I was like, "Oh, that's a great line." And then I was like, well, "That's not really true, though." I mean, that really scared Luke at the time. Actually, like he almost like killed Ben Solo over this.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about that scene, right? And that scene where Luke Skywalker considers murdering his nephew, it's really been panned as a meme because every time I see it, it's always talked about in the context of like, oh, Ben Solo had one bad dream and Luke Skywalker almost killed him. And it's funny, like that's a funny way to frame it, but it really takes away from how serious that moment is, which is the most realistic and down-to-earth moment in all of Star Wars, I think, because anytime somebody is asked, if you had a time machine, what would you do? And for some reason, everybody says the same thing. Oh, I'd go back in time and I'd kill baby Hitler. That's what Luke is facing in that moment right there. His son or his nephew is sleeping. He basically reads his mind. He can foresee the future, which is a thing the Skywalkers have. Anakin did it in Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. Luke did it in Empire. He can foresee the future. He can sense the future through the Force. And he can feel that this kid is going to cause the death of billions. And it's going to be untold suffering. And he has the chance right now to prevent all of that. And it's a moment of weakness, but it's the same thing that he does on the Death Star in Return of the Jedi when he's about to kill his own dad. He's wailing away at him as Darth Vader is sitting on the railing. He's losing a hand. He's wheezing. Luke has the upper hand, and he looks at his lightsaber in the exact same way that he looks at it in that scene from The Last Jedi before he throws it away and says, "I will not fight you. I am a Jedi like my father before me." Because in that moment, going back to The Last Jedi now, what does Luke do? He obviously wasn't going to go through with it. It was a moment of weakness. He had the most rational thought anyone could have, which is, I have an opportunity to kill baby Hitler right now.
Yeah.
But that's not the Jedi way. And so he wasn't going to do it. And I think it is a great moment in Star Wars. And any chance I get to defend The Last Jedi, I'm going to take it. But it's really unfortunate to me that that moment has been turned into a meme.
That's good. That's a great point, Max. I like everything you said.
Yeah, I
Makes a
agree.
lot of sense.
I never thought about it in the terms of what would you do if with a time machine go kill baby Hitler. That is very similar.
Very similar. Yeah.
Because it's important to point out that Luke Skywalker wasn't wrong. What he sensed in Kylo Ren came to fruition. And you could say, well, that only happened because he did this. And I would say I would disagree with that. I think what Kylo Ren became was inevitable. And I think that's, validated by some of the comics as well. The Rise of Kylo Ren, where we see some backstory where he was kind of struggling already with this kind of push to the dark side, so
Yeah,
to
he
speak.
said Snoke had already turned his heart.
Exactly. So I disagree with that rebuttal. I think what Ben Solo turned into was inevitable. Luke Skywalker sensed it. He had the chance to save billions by murdering his nephew, and it's an incredible moral dilemma, and he handled it like a Jedi Knight because he knew he couldn't do it.
What would you do in a fun way if you had a time machine to go back right now?
I would do something so selfish. I would not kill baby Hitler.
Oh, no, in a fun way,
I would go back like 2 weeks and like remake something that gave me food poisoning and be like, oh, get rid of that.
I would go back to 1997 and get a high-C ecto cooler right now.
What is it?
Ecto cooler, the Ghostbusters.
I don't remember.
Was this like a
those, but I
Taco
remember the
Bell
re-release for
exclusive?
them.
No, it was just a little high-C ecto cooler, which I've been making at home. And I'm like, I want to taste the. I'm gonna make it for next Saturday too.
I don't know what I would do. I'd probably go rewatch one of the Star Wars movies for the first time in theaters opening night. That was such a fun experience. Or maybe go back to Star Wars Celebration and rewatch that trailer.
You know what? I would go back in time and I would rewatch The Force Awakens with you guys because The Force Awakens 2015 was such a big moment in our lives, and I wasn't there to catch the first viewing with Matt and Luke.
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys saw it together.
You and I saw it together.
You guys
and
saw it
then
together.
I walked out and walked into the next auditorium and watched
Yeah,
it with you.
we literally passed each
immediately
other, and you
after.
guys were like crying. You guys were like, "Oh my god, it was so incredible! I loved it!" And I'm like, "Oh my god, what's about to happen?" And then I had to
forgot
watch it by
about that.
myself.
That's
Oh my
hilarious.
God.
I forgot about that.
I
too.
didn't watch it by myself. I think my dad watched it with
I
me.
watched.
Yes.
It was Sammy.
Me too. I watched
Yeah.
it twice opening night.
That
once
was
with Matt
yes,
and then once with you.
because we literally walked out and you walked back with them into the theater instantly. No pee break.
Nope.
That's man.
So
We are
if I had a time machine, that's what I would do. I would go back. I forget why that even happened, but I would
because you were in law school.
it was in the winter. I had a final that
You
day.
did.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's all coming back to me to be like, Max.
If I had a time machine, I probably would not skip that final. That was pretty important.
But can you imagine if you had a time machine, but you would go back and we would see you at Cinemark and Valley View, but your current age now, and be like,
Is that you?
what's going on right here?
You look a little balder.
To be honest, though, like if it's one of those things where
You
the
don't
butterfly,
have dreadlocks?
exactly. I was gonna say, if the butterfly effect that you couldn't see yourself because it would like change things, you'd be fine. You would not notice you at
I
all.
would not recognize my own self.
No, not at all.
That's funny.
One other thing. Do you remember seeing Revenge of the Sith together?
No.
It was 2005, so we were kids. I was 8. You were what? 11, 12, 13? I remember
11. I would have been turning 12.
I remember
that year.
distinctly we brought our toy Darth Vader helmet into the theater and we were playing with it before it started, and then it started and then the crawl was going and I turned to you to say something and you like pushed me away like I'm reading the crawl, and I remember thinking like you're actually reading these words that fly through space in the beginning of a Star Wars movie. Like
That's
that is
hilarious.
That is so lame. Are you kidding me?
Do you?
Apparently I wasn't reading them by the time I was 7 or 8.
No, I had the same exact
Probably
situation.
wasn't either at that age. I'm surprised I was at 11.
I used to think when I was a kid that the crawl spoiled the movie,
So you
and so I
try not to
never
it.
read it as well.
Purposely avoided it.
When I was like,
So
I mean, this is
funny.
like before Revenge of the Sith, but like I remember, I think it definitely Attack of the Clones. I was like, no, like even then, which was so funny to think back about.
That's so funny. No, I do not remember seeing Revenge. I do not remember seeing Attack of the Clones, but oddly enough, I do remember seeing Phantom Menace because I think that was the first midnight premiere we probably ever went to. I think we went as a family. Well, I guess I was 6. You probably weren't there because you would have been 2. There's no
Yes.
way.
I know. We've talked about this before. Our family still maintains that they brought me, and I say,
A
as a
2-year-old?
father of a 1.5-year-old, there is absolutely no chance you would bring a 2-year-old to the midnight screening of the Phantom Menace. For one, it's at midnight. Also, it's sold out. Also, there's
It was
a
sold
billion
out
people
because we
there.
sat in the very front row. It was terrible.
I'm
and
certain I was not there.
I remember I fell asleep. I think I only saw like the first hour.
And then I always say, but you did grow up loving trade disputes. This is a joke we made multiple times on this podcast because we've said this story.
We're starting to recycle our own material. Oh boy.
All right, we got to end it here.
Yes.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Reach out on socials. We'll see you next week.
See you, Sammy.